Three girls locked the bathroom door. A lone black teen stood in front of the sink, cornered and outnumbered. They thought she'd cry, or run, but what she did next. It left the entire school, no, the entire internet, shocked. This wasn't just about bullying. This was about power, and how one girl flipped the script, with just one move. You're not ready for what comes next. It started like any ordinary school day. The sky outside was cloudy, the bell rang on time, and the hallways buzzed with the same chaotic chatter Zaria had heard every day since she transferred 2 weeks ago. But for Zaria James, a quiet 14-year-old black girl who'd just moved to Willow Ridge Middle School, that day would take a sharp turn, from ordinary to unforgettable, before she even made it to lunch. Zaria had just finished her math test, which she'd quietly aced. She was one of the few who could actually keep up when Mr. Hargrave launched into algebra equations no one else understood. It wasn't that she was trying to show off, she just liked numbers. They made sense when people didn't. Feeling a little overwhelmed from the intense class, Zaria stepped into the girls' bathroom to wash her face and breathe. She looked in the mirror, tied back her braids, and let the cold water run over her fingers. For a moment, it was peaceful. Quiet, until it wasn't. The door creaked open with a slow, deliberate sound. Zaria glanced up. 3 girls stepped in. Madison, Lily, and Emma, all white, all dressed like they belonged to the same clique, the same one that gave Zaria side eyes in the hallway and whispered behind her back in homeroom. She'd heard the rumors, how they didn't like outsiders, how they made life difficult for anyone who didn't fit their mold. Until now, they'd just stared or snickered. But this was different. Madison, the leader, leaned against the counter beside the sink, arms crossed, her lips curled into a smirk. Her icy blue eyes didn't blink as she said, "You lost or something? This isn't your school." Zaria froze. Her fingers were still wet from the sink. She slowly turned off the faucet, wiped her hands on her jeans, and said nothing. Her silence seemed to irritate them more. Lily, the tallest of the 3, casually strolled over and stood in front of the bathroom door, blocking it. "No teachers around now," she said coolly. "Let's have a real conversation." Zaria's heart thudded against her ribs. She stood still but glanced quickly at the mirror in front of her. 3 girls, 1 exit, no one else in the hallway. Emma stepped closer, circling like a shark. "You think you're so smart, huh? Always raising your hand, always acting like you're better than everyone else." Zaria finally spoke, her voice quiet but steady. "I just answer the questions." Madison rolled her eyes. "Yeah? Then answer this. Why are you even here? You don't belong in Willow Ridge. This isn't your kind of school." There it was, not even hidden. The ugliness behind their smirks. Zaria had heard this before, not just here, in grocery stores, in her old neighborhood. From people who smiled with their mouths but not their eyes. It wasn't about academics. Or attitude. It was about her skin. Zaria looked each of them in the eyes, one by one, holding her ground. "I have just as much right to be here as you do," she said firmly. Lily stepped closer. "Yeah? Let's see how tough you are without your little test scores and your teachers to protect you." Zaria's heart was pounding now, adrenaline pumping through her veins. Her palms were sweaty, but her stare didn't waver. She could feel the pressure building, their words sharp like daggers. They expected her to break, to cry, to beg, or to run, but she didn't, because what they didn't know was that Zaria wasn't just smart. She was prepared, and what she did next would leave the whole school in shock. They thought she'd be scared. Madison stepped closer, her smirk widening as if she were feeding off Zaria's isolation. "Bet you think you're better than us, just because you answered all those questions in class?" Her voice dripped with mockery, but underneath it was something else, insecurity. Madison didn't like to be outshined, especially not by someone new, especially not by a black girl who didn't fit into her idea of who was supposed to be smart. Zaria backed up a step, but her feet remained grounded. Her voice, though quiet, was solid. "I'm just here to learn. That's all." Lily rolled her eyes and crossed her arms tightly across her chest. Oh, now she's got an attitude, she snapped. Look at her, all calm and confident. You think you're smart, huh? You don't belong in this school or this town. Her words weren't just insults. They were loaded with something deeper, resentment. Zarya had noticed it since day one, the way teachers looked surprised when she spoke articulately, the way some students wouldn't sit next to her in the cafeteria or whispered when she passed. Emma laughed harshly, her tone bitter and biting. You think anyone's gonna help you? She sneered. No one cares. You're just a charity case they let in so they can pretend they're not racist. That one hit hard. Zarya's jaw tightened, but her face remained unreadable. Inside, her stomach twisted, not because she believed it, but because she knew others probably did. Now they were circling her, slowly, like vultures. Madison by the mirror, Lily at the door, Emma drifting to her right, arms folded, eyes locked, cutting off exits. Zarya could feel the heat rising in her chest. Her pulse quickened. Every survival instinct screamed, "Get out! Get safe!" But she didn't move. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. Because deep down, Zarya knew something they didn't. She wasn't trapped. They were on camera. Her fingers inched into the pocket of her hoodie, her touch calm and practiced. She took a slow, steadying breath and gripped her phone. One flick of her thumb, silent, invisible to them, and the screen lit up. Zarya pulled it out deliberately. No panic, no shaking hands. Just clarity. She pressed record and held it in front of her like a mirror. This is being recorded, she said, her voice suddenly louder, clearer. The echo of her words bounced off the tile walls. Right now, every word, every face, all. 3 girls froze. Madison's smirk faltered. What? You heard me, Zarya said. Keep going. Tell me more about how I don't belong. Go ahead. She turned to Lily. Your dad's on the school board, right? Lily's confidence cracked. What does that have to do with anything? Zarya's voice sharpened. You'll find out. Emma reached out. Turn that off. Zarya stepped back, holding the phone higher. Touch me, and it's assault. On camera, keep talking. You're just making my case stronger. The bathroom that once felt small and suffocating suddenly expanded. The power had shifted. Now, it was 3 girls staring at their own reflections, caught in the act, with nowhere to hide. Madison's voice cracked. You wouldn't really post that? I already sent it, Zarya said, calm as ever, to someone who knows exactly what to do with it. For the first time since they entered, none of them had anything to say. The silence was deafening. Zarya turned toward the door, phone still recording. This is what you do when you think no one's watching. Now, the whole world's about to see. And with that, she reached for the handle. Her next move changed everything. With steady hands, Zarya pressed record. Her thumb tapped the screen, and the phone's camera began to roll. Her calmness wasn't an act. It was her armor. All the fear bubbling inside her transformed into sharp focus. She raised the phone, locking eyes with Madison. This is being recorded. Right now. Every word, every face, she said, voice clear and unwavering. Keep going. Madison froze. You could almost hear the air shift in the bathroom. The bravado drained from the girls' faces like water down a sink. They hadn't expected this. They'd expected tears, maybe pleading, not power. Zarya turned to Lily, her camera following. Your dad's on the school board, right? She asked. Lily blinked, startled. Yeah. So? Zarya nodded slowly, never lowering the phone. Perfect. Then he'll understand exactly what kind of school he's running. Then she turned the camera back to herself. Center frame. Her face, calm and fierce. Her voice, firm and piercing. This is what happens when you're black and new in Willow Ridge Middle School. When you do nothing wrong. When you just exist. They corner you. They mock you. They try to break you. Her words weren't just for the 3 girls anymore. They were for everyone who would watch later. Every parent, every teacher, every student who had ever felt powerless. This was bigger than one bathroom. Madison took a small step back. Her voice faltered. You wouldn't dare post that. Zaria. Didn't blink. Try me. The line cut through the silence like a blade, sharp, dangerous, final. That's when it happened. The shift. Like a switch had been flipped and the entire power dynamic flipped upside down. The bathroom, which had moments ago been a trap, was now a stage, and Zaria owned it. Emma, the quietest of the group, suddenly found her voice. Okay, look, this just got out of hand. We were just messing around. Zaria didn't even look at her. She was already moving. With a few swift taps, she uploaded the video to her cloud and sent a copy via secure message to a contact labeled simply, Mom. Then she said it out loud, for all three of them to hear. Already sent. My mom's a civil rights attorney. She's waiting for me right now. Their faces went pale. Lily swallowed hard. Wait, your mom's a lawyer? Zaria nodded. And my uncle's a journalist. National. Madison's voice cracked. Okay. Look, we didn't mean anything bad. You just... What? Zaria cut in. Tried to corner me? Intimidate me? Humiliate me? Madison was silent. Zaria stepped forward now, not afraid, not backing down. If this is what you do to people like me when no one's watching, then imagine what you'd do if I hadn't had my phone. Emma whispered, Please don't ruin our lives over this. Zaria's eyes narrowed. You were willing to ruin mine. She didn't scream, she didn't cry, she didn't raise her voice, but her words landed like thunder, quiet, direct, undeniable. Then came the knock. 3 sharp raps on the bathroom door, a voice called from the other side. Zaria, it's Principal Keene. You in there? The color drained from all 3 girls' faces. Zaria turned her phone off and calmly walked to the door. Yes, sir. I'm here, and I have something you need to see. The secret she'd been hiding as the 3 girls scrambled to make excuses, stammering apologies, nervous laughter, and whispered, We didn't mean it. Zaria didn't even flinch. She didn't yell, didn't gloat. She simply stepped forward, calm and collected like she'd just aced another math test. She walked past them slowly, leaving their stunned silence behind. Each step was deliberate. A message. When she opened the bathroom door, a rush of hallway air flooded in, and standing right outside was Principal Keene, looking tense and confused. But that wasn't all. Right beside him, arms folded, eyes sharp, as a blade stood her mother, Amara James, civil rights attorney. Defender of students who had been profiled, bullied, and unjustly punished. A woman who had won more cases than the entire district's legal team combined. Zaria didn't say much. She didn't need to. She simply handed her phone to the principal. They cornered me, she said. It's all here. Principal Keene's brow furrowed as he played the video. His lips pressed into a tight line. With each second of footage, the tension in his posture grew. First came the insults, then the threats, and then the damning silence when they realized they were caught. Zaria's mother didn't ask to see the video. She didn't have to. She trusted her daughter. And more importantly, she had warned them. When she first transferred Zaria to Willow Ridge Middle School, she had sat down with the administration and looked them squarely in the eye. My daughter is smart, and she knows her rights, she had said. You may not see her coming, but trust me, if anything happens, she won't be alone. Back then, they nodded politely. They assured her that Willow Ridge was a safe and inclusive learning environment. Now the principal's face was beet red with anger, not at Zaria, but at what had just unfolded on his watch. He turned to the bathroom, his voice rising. All. 3 of you, my office. Now. The girls emerged slowly, their eyes down, their confident strut gone. No smirks now, just fear. Real, heavy, world-crashing fear. Emma glanced toward Zaria with teary eyes. Please don't post that video. Please! Zaria didn't answer. Her mother did. You should be more concerned with the district's code of conduct, Amara said firmly. Because what you 3 just did, that's bullying, harassment, and racial intimidation. Madison opened her mouth to argue, but Principal Keene raised a hand. Not one word. I'll be calling your parents. And the school board. Immediately. Zaria's phone buzzed with a new notification. She glanced down. Her uncle, the journalist, had already replied. Got it. Give me a, quote, this needs to be heard. The story was already moving beyond those four walls. As the girls were led away, Zaria stood still, her shoulders high, her mother's hand gently on her back. It was over. Not just the confrontation, not just the bullying, but the silence. The code of silence that kept kids like Zaria afraid to speak up, afraid to push back. It ended the moment she pulled out her phone, the moment she refused to be cornered. Principal Keene turned to her, his tone softer now. Zaria, I'm sorry. This should have never happened. She nodded politely but said nothing. Because apologies were easy. Change was harder, and thanks to her, change had just begun. The whole school watched what happened next, tying together the story's resolution, consequences, and legacy with emotion and impact. The whole school watched what happened next. By the end of the day, the video had made its way onto social media. It started small, a few shares from students who had heard whispers of what had happened in the bathroom, but then someone posted it to TikTok with the caption, "When they cornered a black girl, she fought back, with truth." And that's when it went viral. The view count surged into the thousands by dinner time. By sunrise the next morning, it had crossed 300,000 views and was climbing fast. Major pages reposted it. Influencers called it the moment that defines courage. Activists praised Zaria for standing her ground without violence, without shouting, just by using the power of her voice and the truth. The bathroom confrontation was now national news. At Willow Ridge Middle School, everything changed, almost overnight. The phone lines rang nonstop. Angry, heartbroken, and outraged parents demanded answers. Emails flooded the principal's inbox. Some parents pulled their children from school temporarily, unwilling to trust the administration until changes were made. Others came in person, requesting meetings, demanding accountability. In response, the school district had no choice but to launch a full investigation, one that didn't just review Zaria's footage, but dove deep into past complaints, previous incidents swept under the rug, and patterns that had long been ignored. What they uncovered was painful, but necessary. Zaria's video wasn't an isolated event. It was a mirror, exposing years of microaggressions, ignored warnings, and unequal treatment that black and minority students had quietly endured. That week, the consequences were swift and loud. Madison, Lily, and Emma were suspended for racial harassment and bullying. Their parents were required to attend mandatory bias training. But it didn't end there. In a school assembly, they were asked, publicly and sincerely, to apologize. Not just to Zaria, but to every student who had ever felt unsafe, unwanted, or unseen. Their voices shook. Their faces were pale. They read carefully worded statements, but everyone knew. It was too late to undo what had been done. Zaria, however, sat quietly near the back, her mother beside her. She wasn't there for revenge. She wasn't looking to humiliate anyone. She just wanted the truth to matter, and it did. Because after that day, real changes began. A new zero-tolerance policy was implemented for bullying and racial harassment. Not just in theory, but in practice. The school hired a full-time equity and inclusion officer. Regular town halls were organized to allow students to speak up, anonymously or in person. Zaria's video was even used as a training tool in the district's educator workshops, a raw reminder of what injustice looks like when it hides in plain sight. Funding was approved for diversity education, cultural events, and mental health resources focused on inclusion and belonging. But perhaps the most powerful change wasn't in policy. It was in perception. For weeks, students looked at Zaria differently. Some whispered her name in awe. Others approached her just to say, "Thank you." One boy handed her a note in the hallway that read, "You gave me courage. I almost didn't come out as gay. Now I'm not scared anymore." Zaria became more than a student. She became a symbol of grace under pressure. Not because she screamed, not because she fought back with fists or insults, but because she stood firm with truth, dignity, and intelligence. She reminded everyone that strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet girl with a camera and a spine of steel. Reporters came calling, news vans parked outside the school. Zaria turned most of them down. She didn't want fame she never had. What she wanted, what she fought for, was justice. A fair shot, a safe place to learn without being made to feel other, and she got it. Eventually, her mother allowed her to speak at a local education board meeting. Zaria stood before the panel in a neat blouse and jeans, holding her phone. Not to record this time, but to read. "I didn't record that video to embarrass anyone," she said. "I recorded it because I wanted someone to care. I didn't want to be another name in a file, another quiet kid who disappears." Now that. "You see me? Please see the others too." The room erupted into applause. Months later, when school awards rolled around, she was honored with a special citation. For courage in the face of adversity. Some clapped politely, others stood up. But Zaria? She smiled, took the plaque, and quietly sat back down. Because recognition didn't change who she was. She was never trying to be a hero. She was just a girl who refused to be cornered, and because of her, no one else would have to be either. If you love stories where the underestimated rise and justice hits hard, don't just watch. Join the VIP fam. Hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications. Because here, we don't just tell stories. We drop moments that change everything. Only the real ones subscribe. Are you one of them?